Good afternoon. Thank you, Noel, for your leadership and commitment to ensuring communities have access to fair and responsible credit. Now, I have the pleasure of teeing up our next segment. Our conference theme this year is Capital Meets Purpose. There is no one who can better speak about why CDFIs do what we do every day than the people who work with us as partners and clients. They are our purpose, and their communities are why and where we do the work we do. One of the best parts of the OFN Conference is when we hear directly from the people who make our industry what it is, whether it's CDFI practitioners like we've had the last few years or the 4 people with us today. I'm excited to hear from them, and I think you're in for a real treat. Our first speaker is a CDFI partner. Shawn Outler is a Chief Diversity Officer at Macy's. Over the past few years, Macy's has been exploring how to advance entrepreneurial growth, close wealth gaps, and break systemic barriers faced by diverse owners, by diverse-owned and underrepresented businesses. This audience knows, but it's not widely known, that Black founders receive less than 1% of venture funding. Minority founders also tend to lose out in traditional lending environments. Just look at the funding access to the Paycheck Protection Program. While 79% of white-owned companies received the PPP funding they sought, only 43% of Black-owned companies received the aid they applied for. Macy's wanted to do something to help, and they found Momentous Capital. Momentous Capital is a family of companies that include the CDFI Capital Impact Partners, CDC Small Business Finance, and Ventures Software. The combined companies have deployed over $22 billion in capital investments in the last 40 years. Momentous's mission is to help build inclusive and equitable communities by providing people access to the capital and opportunities they deserve. Momentous was the perfect partner to help Macy's provide diverse suppliers with access to capital. In 2022, Macy's announced a partnership with Momentous called Spur Pathways. SPUR stands for Shared Purposes, Unlimited Reach. The program aims to make as much as $200 million in loans and equity investments available to underserved growth stage businesses. Given Momentous's track record of working with underestimated communities, they are well positioned and excited to support the Spur program. In the last 5 years alone, Momentous Capital has deployed almost $1 billion in capital to businesses and organizations led by people of color. To hear more about this program and why Macy's chose Momentous as its partner, please welcome Shawn Outler.
Good afternoon. So as Seth said, I'm Shawn Outler. I'm Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Macy's, and I'm really excited to be here to talk to you today about an incredible partnership that we have with Momentous Capital. So giving you a little bit of background, when I started at Macy's in this role in 2018, I was one of the first ever Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officers in retail. At that time, our chairman and CEO, Jeff Gannett, saw a unique opportunity to leverage my experience, my more than 15 years business career, and my personal conviction to bring about change to impact how we show up for our customers, colleagues, and the communities we serve. Macy's has been on a DEI journey for over 40 years, and it has evolved from a whisper to a roar. As our business grew, we saw firsthand the inequities in the fashion and retail industry and chose to dive in and to make a real difference. We've been declarative about our commitments to use our brand's platform to drive positive, sustainable change and to become a beacon of DEI for retail and beyond. Our first major program, the Workshop at Macy's, and I'm proud to say I've created with a bunch of other folks at Macy's, is designed to give high-potential, underrepresented business owners the tools to succeed and to grow through mentoring and education. It has become the longest and most successful retail development program, having graduated 224 businesses since launching in 2011. Many programs and partnerships have, thank you. There have been many partnerships and programs that have launched since, But really about a year ago, we announced the launch of our enterprise-wide social purpose, Mission Everyone. And so with Mission Everyone, Macy's pledges to leverage our resources, our talent, and scale to create a brighter future with bold representation for all, and to direct $5 billion of spend by 2025 with the people, products, programs, and initiatives that create a more equitable and sustainable future. The work of marrying capital and purpose is a journey, and I know you all know that, but it involves many elements: identifying critical needs, planning for and tackling barriers to representation, and more importantly, opening access equitably. So we at Macy's, our work with diverse suppliers, we know plays an important role in our business and how we run our business and what we do and how we think and act every single day. The value comes in serving diverse communities and the diverse needs of our customers, as well as tapping into new and underserved markets. So as we looked at the overall landscape, the opportunities and the challenges faced by underrepresented suppliers, we found there were three areas that are critical to their success: access to education, access to customers, and access to capital. Via the workshop that I mentioned, we really covered the idea of access to education and access to customers. But access to capital has been one of the areas in which we really wanted to focus on and close that gap. It's a critical but complicated puzzle piece. We had a vision and the ambition to get at it. So last year, with our CFO, Adrienne Mitchell, as our champion, we galvanized our network to bring this to fruition. We met with two industry leaders, and some of you may know, Jim Lowry and Justin Dean from Boston Consulting Group, to understand the landscape, the opportunities, and the challenges we were to face. We were energized and ready to embrace what was to come, and we set out towards uncharted territory, determined to tackle the issue. We put a stake in the ground, right, in 2011 around the workshop, and at this critical juncture, we're putting another stake in the ground to define our work, our purpose, and to achieve greater equity for those who have been critically underserved. So at Macy's, they will have a full access to a full suite of necessary tools to progress through various growth stages. And that's through this holistic program and ecosystem we were building. That includes strategy, advisory support, mentorship, training, learning and development, and now access to capital. So as you heard, we launched Spur Pathways, and a critical part of that success of this program was selecting the right partner. We did our due diligence. We vetted a plethora of capital providers, venture funds, and financial institutions, and ultimately, we partnered with Momentous Capital. We met with them, and we had shared values. We were aligned with our mission, and they had the experience and the proven track record of making an impact growing businesses, MBEs. And so since the launch, we've had tremendous excitement around the program and continue to gain insights in partnership with Momentous, and really are growing the program. So as I stand here, I can't reiterate how proud we are, I am, Macy's, to be in partnership with Ellis Carr and the Momentous Capital team. They have the heart for this work and are truly great partners in helping us shape MBEs. I'm excited about the legacy of impact we are creating and how together we are advancing equity by growing businesses with intention. Our work requires tenacity, patience, and perseverance. It takes a collective effort to create the change we are looking for. With the right partners, like the ones we have today with Momentous Capital, together we can close the gap. Thank you.
Thank you, Shawn. Next, we have Marc Benoist, who is the Administrative Officer of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe. For years, Marc had been trying to purchase a home for his family, but he was unable to secure a mortgage because of his invisible credit profile and because of the low housing stock available to purchase on tribal lands. Prior to his role as a tribal political appointee, Marc served as the Director of Development and Planning for the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe and worked closely with Four Bands Community Fund on many different economic development projects over the years. Four Bands Community Fund is a native CDFI and an OFN member since 2003. They were founded in 2000 and are located in South Dakota. Their mission is to shift paradigms and innovate equitable systems to create opportunities for people in areas of small business, homeownership, and financial security. Securing homeownership for Native Americans has been a profound struggle, marked by economic disparities, historical injustices, and complex legal and land ownership issues. Over the past 3 years, Four Bands' executive director, Lakota Vogel, has been exploring how to provide mortgage loans on and off trust lands. Since 2020, Four Bands has helped a significant number of individuals secure the dream of homeownership. Marc is one of them. Join me in welcoming Marc to the stage to tell his remarkable story.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. When I volunteered for this opportunity, I was told it was going to be a small group. Coming from South Dakota, a small group's about 100 people. So I think we take that times about 20 here. So again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your investment. Again, over the past couple of days, I've had an opportunity to listen, and I hate to say it this way, but eavesdrop. I'm a lifelong learner, and just the inkling of what goes on at this conference is amazing. And again, I want to thank you and the work you do. I think it's valuable on all ends, from everybody that contributes the dollars to those people that are benefiting on the opposite end of that in terms of the products that are provided by the CDFIs, including the native CDFIs. And again, my talk today is basically on that subject matter in terms of being a recipient of a mortgage through a native CDFI, Four Bands. First, a little bit about me is that I grew up on the Cheyenne River Reservation. It's in north central South Dakota, encompassing 2 counties, Dewey and Ziebach. As the crow flies, we're about 60 miles north of the state capital of Pierre. We're kind of in a very rural area. We do not have a casino. As people note, again, Indian tribes have casinos. Well, that's not the case for us. Also, a little bit about our geography is our reservation is about the size of the state of Connecticut, so very sizable. And that being said, it's a challenge to deal with a lot of different historical issues as well as climate issues, and that's just not recently in terms of the climate. That's ongoing. We get the extremes of 110 degrees in the summer up to 120 or 20 below in the winter, so that challenge seems to be a constant for us. But as far as where I am, who I am and where I come from, my Lakota name is Izuza, which means grindstone. A grindstone is a tool used to make other tools, and I take that name very, I make that a very important name in terms of what I believe and how I believe in things. Again, that's the Lakota culture. So with that being said, my job has always been to give back, to provide, and those opportunities. And what I found was that when you connect with the right people and the right entities, that the ability to give back is made a lot easier and a lot simpler. And I think that's kind of the model that has worked for Four Bands in our area as well, connecting with the right people, the regional group that they work with, as well as state and federal entities, including the tribe. The tribe is who I work for. My grandfathers on both sides, both are Lakota, who fought in the Battle of Little Bighorn. Now, why that's important is you always hear about the great things in terms of Lakota culture, the native warrior, and those types of things, but yet you don't hear about the challenges living in a teepee in sub-zero weather. You don't hear the challenges of no water, no electricity in the early 70s. You don't hear those stories, but those challenges to the great extreme still exist to a degree for our people. We have hundreds of people on waiting lists for housing. We have subsidized housing to the great extent because of the low income, high poverty rates on the reservation. Our counties basically have been the poorest in the nation for, I guess, when numbers have been kept, I think since the 2000, I think Ziebach County was the poorest during that census count. as far as per capita income. And so what that creates is it creates socioeconomic issues that go well beyond the ability to make a loan, the ability to finance housing opportunities. And why that is because people do not want a loan on a reservation such as ours. That's historically noted. And so once Forband came along, that provided a bright light for us and an opportunity. I've banked since the age of 19 at one bank. And at the time I started banking there, again, I was only able to get a couple $100s on a loan at extreme rates. And after that, the only improvement that I got over the course of the time of banking there has been the ability to bypass the loan committee and get a direct loan, almost immediate turnaround. So, that was the plus side, but yet that's part of the challenge. But in terms of what Forbands has done is they provided new opportunity in a lot of different areas with mortgages, with credit building, with internships, helping small business with create classes, and also helping with taxes. They do tax prep work as well. And so I guess the average prior to Forbands was on an annual basis, there have been 4 mortgages per year given on the counties. Again, that's the size of the state of Connecticut. And since Forband has been there for the past 3 years, they've provided over 65 mortgages. So that's a great accomplishment. In addition to that, the average credit score for those people not meeting the low income but are ready for a mortgage is about 704 in terms of credit score, and then they can afford about $140,000 in terms of mortgage, and that's very key. So it's an untapped market. It's a market, I think, that, again, if there are any funders here, again, it's a great market to invest in, not just with our reservation, but with other areas as well. But in closing, again, like I said, I appreciate the work you do, the value you do. And again, it's always the end customer, the people that are there. There's a ripple effect going on with the work that you do. When you provide a house, that moves other people out of other units, which open up to other tribal members. And that being said, it provides a new light of hope for somebody else down the line. And that ripple effect, I hope, will continue into the future. So with that, again, I thank you and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Marc. Next, we have Jonathan Porter. Jonathan resides in Seattle, Washington. He is one of 42 million Americans living with a disability and one of 3 million Americans who use wheelchairs. Navigating the world with a disability can pose many challenges and comes with a hefty price tag and a maze of navigating resources. The financial burdens include prescription and caregiving costs, essential medical supplies, and indispensable assistive technology. Insurance doesn't cover everything. And on top of that, there are earning and asset limits imposed on many government programs, prohibiting people from saving more than $2,000. As a person with a lifelong disability, Jonathan has had many wheelchairs. But it wasn't until 2007 and after college that he realized he could consider adding features that would make a huge difference in his life. Jonathan wanted a seat-raising feature that allowed him to be at eye level with people and reach things around the house. He needed an extra battery to help him navigate Seattle's hills and allow him to commute to work using the bus. And he needed extra lights to help him navigate that commute in the winter. Jonathan knew insurance would fall short, but he needed to find a way to afford them. That's when he made his way to Northwest Access Fund, a CDFI based in Seattle, and an OFN member since 2005. Jonathan has financed 2 wheelchairs with the help of the Northwest Access Fund. NWAF has been helping people with disabilities access capital, financial coaching, and other resources since its founding in 2004. The CDFI helps individuals with disabilities secure loans to adapt a vehicle, modify their homes, purchase hearing aids, or, like Jonathan, purchase a wheelchair. Let's welcome Jonathan to the stage for him to share his CDFI story.
Good afternoon. Once again, my name is Jonathan Porter. I'm a proud Seattleite from the Columbia City neighborhood in the south part of Seattle. Digital equity and disability advocacy has been a lifelong passion of mine. I'm currently the IT programs manager and instructor at the Filipino Community Center, where I educate all ages in various technologies. I help facilitate a network engineering training program for people that are previously incarcerated. And we also deliver internet to underserved areas in the state of Washington. As a member of the disabled community, as I said, disability advocacy has also been something I've been always involved with. I'm a lifelong member of the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and throughout my life I've also been part of various other organizations, such as I was once the president of the board president of the commission of the Seattle Commission for People with Disabilities, part of the Career Opportunities for People with Disabilities. I've assisted with the Seattle Community Colleges, or now Seattle Colleges, and I'm currently now the board president of Open Doors for Multicultural Families, which is a nonprofit serving families of refugee status, immigration status, and people of color with families, members with disabilities. As someone with a disability, every day is a problem-solving journey, I should say. You can't just go to the store or go to this restaurant, or I'm going to go down the street to this place or visit that person's house. Every day you have to think of, can I get inside that building? Can I get up those stairs? Can I go to the bank and reach the ATM? If I'm going to go from point A to point B, is the route accessible? Do I have a vehicle? What about the buses? It's an attitude you have to have, and one I'm proud of, but nonetheless, it's something you have to always think about. But I'm just talking about the physical things. What about the financial things? To be frank, having a disability costs more money. You have caregiving premiums, prescriptions, medical supplies, the need for assistive technologies, and as Seth just mentioned, there's asset limits if you're dependent on government programs. You can only save so much, and you can only make so much. There's low credit scores or being unscored altogether due to whether it's medical debt or other related circumstances. And that lack of credit is a barrier to getting into housing. You often lack collateral and low ownership rates as well. And this applies to all disabilities, whether it's physical, visual, hearing, or intellectual. And as for myself, when I was a certain age, I didn't know anything about lending, about getting money from the bank. All I knew is you needed a new wheelchair and insurance paid for it. What I didn't know when I turned 21 was if I wanted to do certain skills within that chair, whether it's reaching, whether it's being higher, raising up, I was going to have to pay for that out of pocket. I actually found a wheelchair that gave me a standing ability like you see today, where I can speak up to a mic, where I can go out certain places, where I could be more independent in my everyday life. And when I figured out that I wouldn't be able to afford it myself, that's when I actually was referred to by a friend by the Northwest Access Fund. It was through them I was able to both fund this wheelchair and the previous chair, which the one that I learned that I got when I was 21. I'm now currently 37. And now with this chair, as I mentioned, I'm able to be higher. I can go to events where I'm standing. I'm not always at sitting level. One of the more momentous events that I always think of is at my wedding, I was able to be eye to eye with my wife. As Seth mentioned also, the extra battery. I'm pretty independent. Seattle does have hills. It's not San Francisco, but it still has hills. I'm able to get from point A to point B. I don't have to worry about my battery dying or anything of that nature. I can go out at night. I can use lights and stuff like that. Also, the Northwest Access Fund also helps with financial coaching, which I'm sure I'll have to deal with in the near future, as the current wheelchair accessible vehicle I now own is already 20 plus years old. So clearly that's going to be something that's on my agenda to do soon. So as I mentioned, so what you all see with this chair, to some this might be a cool trick that a cool chair does. But for me, I see independence. I see a future where people like myself and others otherwise would not envision. Again, if I didn't have this chair, there's a lot of things I wouldn't be able to do. People that need hearing aids wouldn't be able to hear certain things, visual aids, And I haven't talked about all the different adaptive technologies, whether it's using computers, whether it's navigating different places, whether it's vehicles, home modifications. These are all things that aren't lended usually that many people like myself need and depend on. A loan is often the family's only option. Many cannot save even to obtain these type of assistive technology. So often, CDFIs are the only ways that people were able to accomplish and achieve these certain goals. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the need for financial coaching is also a huge one. Having a disability, there's very many obstacles and paths you have to navigate and learn how to navigate in order to get funding to be independent. As I mentioned, there's always the gaps of certain things, such as asset limits, and there's also hidden opportunities in terms of finding funding that you're often not able to find. Seth already kind of took my stat, but according to the 2021 census, there's 42.5 million people with disabilities. That means that makes up 13% of the population. I'm just one of the over 42.5 million people lives that have been hugely impacted by CDFIs. And I'm just hoping that something that I'm said or something that you hear if you attend my colleague Emerson's session after this will help you all do what you can to change the lives of the 42.5 million people just like myself. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Jonathan. All right, last but not least, we have George Holland, mayor of Moorhead, Mississippi. Moorhead is a small town with a population of 2,000 people located in the Mississippi Delta. The town holds a rich historical connection to the railroad industry and the blues. Mayor Holland was born to a sharecropper's family on the outskirts of Moorhead. When he turned 18, he moved to St. Louis and launched a career in the trucking industry. He would spend the next 30 years in the Teamster Union until retirement in 2005. 2 years later, he returned home, got involved, and was elected mayor. He is now in his 4th consecutive term. For years, the town had one bank, but the bank didn't offer essential services like taking loan applications or even an ATM. When the bank announced the decision to move out of the market, the bank offered the branch to Hope Credit Union. Hope is a CDFI credit union and loan fund with a mission to strengthen the financial health and wealth of people in under-resourced Deep South communities. They were founded in 1994 and have been an OFN member since 1997. Upon the mayor's invitation, Hope assumed and reopened the branch, this time with a loan officer and, yes, an ATM. But perhaps of even more importance, Hope and the residents of the town entered into a partnership that focused on an agenda of transformation, one informed and directed by local people. Please join me in welcoming Mayor George Holland to the stage to share his story.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to say like we said in the country, it's good for us to be here. Yeah. My name is George Holland, and I'm from a small town in the Mississippi Delta. And if you see the photo on the screen, we were a sharecroppers family. I don't know how many of you ever heard of sharecroppers, but that's our family. That's my brothers and sisters and mom and dad, me with my thumb in my mouth right there. Yeah, at 4 years old, and you know, we lived on that plantation. Oh, my dad sharecropped and for all of his life, I guess. And at the age of, I was probably 14 when Dad decided that he was going to start trying to get us off of that plantation. But sharecropping was a hard job. It was hard, but we didn't know how hard it was because we had a family that kind of sheltered us. We had a family that, it was 11 kids, mom and dad, and 11 kids, that's 13 of us in a small house, but we didn't really know how poor we were because they sheltered us and helped us to get through those days. But it was just a blessing that 2 years before Dad decided to move into home in the town of Moorhead. He decided, he went to work on this project, and he got this house. But 2 years later, he passed away, leaving Mom with all of these children. And I think, God forbid, if he had been stuck with, Mom had been stuck with those children out there on that plantation. So I just threw that in because it means so much to me. And we have people come through Moorhead all the time, and I tell them this story because it means so much to me, and I just see the struggle that my mom had. So since my time is clicking, I'm going to move on. But we went off to, I moved out at 18, went to St. Louis, Missouri, where I worked in the Teamsters industry for 30 years and had a calling on my life to come back home. My daughter and son, they live still in St. Louis. They hated that idea, but we had a calling to come back. And I didn't know what it was until we went back home. And as we went back into this community, we got busy. My wife and I got busy working and doing things. A member of the Chamber of Commerce, by the way, that's a photo of my wife and I. And that, you know what, 55 years, y'all. 55 years, 1968, we got married. And let me share that we've been working together ever since. We've been working hard trying to improve our community, the place that we call home now, the place that we came back to use our gifts and the treasures that have been given to us. We wanted to share it with our community. And upon arrival in our community, we found that it wasn't as beautiful and pretty as we thought it would be, but and there was still a lot of poverty that we come back and we started to work and got involved in organizations, and before long, people were asking me to run for mayor, and I said, you gotta be out of your mind. I'd never been into politics, never thought about being into politics, never wanted to be, and so, but we did, got in it and got involved and been in it for 15 years now. Those are just photos of things in our community that we have accomplished since we've been there, and I just wanted you to know that. But I want to get to the point that I'm really here for today, and that's Hope Credit Union. Hope Credit Union, y'all. Hope Credit Union, the CEO of Hope is here, Mr. Bill Bynum, but they have been a blessing to our small community. We moved into this town, y'all, it was a banking desert. You couldn't go into this building and open up an account. You couldn't go in there and really, there was no services they all offered. In order to open an account, you had to drive 30 miles to another town, even to open up a checking account or savings account or what have you. But after a while, and I approached the CEO of the other bank, well, it wasn't CEO, but the manager, about putting in an ATM machine. Something as simple as an ATM machine. So I approached this guy about putting in an ATM machine. He said, oh, well, that's too expensive. We can't afford to put an ATM machine in this. You know what I'm thinking? Here's the way I think. Now all you got to do is punch a hole in the wall and stick a machine in the side of that wall. Now that's my way of thinking. But evidently it was more to it than that, and I know what it was. They really didn't want to be involved in the small communities. But thank God for Hope Credit Union coming in and showing an interest in working in small communities. And what they have done since they've been there, they have transformed our community or helped transform our community. They have worked hard and started so much. Now the bank belongs to Hope Credit Union, and you can walk into that place and transact any business that you want to do. You can get an automobile loan, you can get a mortgage loan, or you can, whatever you need to do, it's right there in Moorhead. Somebody say, go ahead, Moorhead. Hope Credit Union has really been a blessing. The biggest grant that I received over the years was I got a $500,000 grant from the Transportation Department, Mississippi Department of Transportation. And with that money, we wanted to put lighting out. You know how important lighting. We got a little college, junior college in our town, and the corridor was dark at night. You come into our town and you think, where am I going? What's here? And we had a dream, a vision early in since I've been mayor early, and we wanted to have lighting, a historic lighting on the, just coming in to make us look more like DC. So, but we did. We applied for this money, and we got $550,000. We got another $100,000 with match from another organization, but we were still $13,500 short. And guess who stepped in? Hope. That's right. Hope brought hope to a hopeless community. Yeah. They did so much. They did so much, y'all, so much for us. And I didn't tell you this, but Moorhead is known for where the Southern crosses the yellow dog. Anybody know where the Southern crosses the yellow dog? No, but nobody's from the country. If you was from the country, you'd know about Moorhead, Mississippi. But I'm so glad. I'm telling you, I can't say enough about what Bill Bynum and what Hope has brought to us. And I'm going to have to say that not only the banking industry, but he's come in and he's a friend. He's a friend that stick with him. I have his personal phone number. I can call him. I couldn't call no other banker by his personal phone number, but I can call Bill, and I can just ask for things. And if there's any way that he can help, he's going to help. So I'm so grateful. And the reason I'm here today is really because of Hope Credit Union. And I'm just here. I'm so grateful for what they've done, for what they are offered, and what they are still offering in our community. I'm just so grateful to you, Bill, wherever you're sitting out there. I'm grateful to you today for thinking about us and watching out for us and being there for us when we needed the help. When we needed help, you were there, and you're always there. So we're so grateful for that, and thank you all for being here. I wish you'd come to Moorhead sometime. Let me tell my whole story. That's just a small part of my story. I like to tell that story. We get tourists from all over the country following that railroad crossing and following the Blues Trail who come through Moorhead, and I'm the proud mayor that stands up and tell them, welcome to Moorhead, where the Southern crosses the yellow dog. Thank you for hearing me. God bless all of you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Holland. Let's have one final round of applause for our 4 speakers today.